Annie Barrows, and this is my book, Nothing. Now, as Regan said, I write a lot for little kids. I write the Ivy and Mean series for, you know, your 6, your 7, your 8-year-old people, and I always swore that I would never ever write for teenagers, but clearly I lied. And the reason that this book came about is that I have this kid who used to be 6, 7, 8, darling, so cute, and then she grew up, she became a teenager, and she was not a very enthusiastic reader as a teenager, and one day she was reading, and I came into the room, and she threw her book across the room, and that book hit me, and I said a thing, well, the abridged version of what I said is, why did you do that, sweetheart? She then told me all the ways that that book sucked, and I said, because I love my children very much when they're reading, almost as much as I love them when they're sleeping, I said, okay, that's cool, no problem, I'm about to go to the bookstore anyway, how about if I pick up a book for you? And she said, okay, that'll be fine. And I said, okay, I'll see you later, goodbye. And she said, no dead mothers. I said, okay, fine, no dead mothers. She said, no dead mothers, no fatal diseases, no child abuse, no love triangles, no intravenous drugs, no psych ward, no rehab. And I said, oh, this is gonna be kind of tricky, but okay. And she said, oh, no fantasy kingdoms, nobody in a corset, no talking animals. Nobody who discovers she's the princess of a magical kingdom. I'm saying, I think we're going to have a problem here. And do you want a book about homework? And she said, yeah, I do. I want a book about homework. I want a book about what I actually do. And I said, sweetheart, you don't do anything. She said, yeah, I want a book about that. And I want it to be funny. And I said, yeah, you're right, I bet you do. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. She said, you could write it. I said, I could not. She said, yeah, that's probably right, you probably couldn't. So I did.
Was it my book that she threw? It's okay if it was. I was a fan of Princess. Okay. It's nice of you to say that. My book, it's not like I'm a professional who does this for a living, so it's good that I didn't bring it. I have a new book. It's called Mun, and let's see here. I don't know if anyone here has it, because you could hold it up in the air, but this feels like a lean call out, because now no one's going to have it, and I'm going to be consumed with self-doubt for the rest of my life. Anyway, it's in a world a lot like our own. There it is! Oh my God! Thank you so much. As long as one. Count on someone. That's another, okay, now it's just, oh guys, sorry. Stop it. Okay, sorry, I'll hurry up. So yeah, it's not set in our world, but it is set in a world a lot like our own. There's just one big metaphorical, literal difference, which is that everyone is proportional in size to how much money or mun they have. And so people vary quite a bit. If you have nothing, you're a tenth of our size, between 6 and 7 inches tall. We would be, the median, the average person, between 5 and 6 feet. And then the richest character in this book is 150 feet tall. But other than that, it's exactly like our world. I wrote it because I had the hunch that it would resemble our world in more ways than you might think, and we won't go into them here, but yeah, there's a weird realism to it, but that's all I'll talk about the book today, because we're here to talk about being a person. Okay.
I already spotted my book in the audience, yay! I too, this is like my 50th showing, I forgot to bring my book. The book is The Way It Made Me Feel, and it's coming out May 8th, so very soon. You can pre-order now, and I have pre-order goodies, FYI. And it is about a girl named Clara Shin who lives in LA, and she's kind of a prankster, and she doesn't take anything seriously, and one of her pranks gets her into major trouble. And so she has to run her dad's food truck over the summer as punishment with her enemy. And it's about summer in LA and running a food truck and meeting a cute boy named Hamlet and possibly having an Instagram influencer mother and issues with that. So that is what it's about. It has a very lovely cover, which you guys all saw and remembered.
Hi, I'm Alexandra, Ballard, and I also did not bring my book, and I can't even say I forgot it because it never occurred to me that I should do that. So now I'm like, that would have been a really good thing to put in my bag because I put everything else I owned in my bag today to make sure that I was prepared. So, but I do a postcard. It's a chocolate bar in the cover. The book is called What I Lost. And it is about a 16-year-old girl who goes to a treatment facility for anorexia. And I wrote this book. I had an eating disorder in my 20s. And it was a story that was always sort of, I think, kind of hidden away inside of me. I never really told anyone outside of people who needed to know that I had this eating disorder, and I beat it after having it for 12 years. And when I started writing, it just started coming out. And the interesting thing was that when I sold my book, I asked my agent, I said, do you need to know that I had this issue because it's very private to me and I wrote it as fiction for a reason? And he's like, oh, no, definitely not. Don't even tell anyone. Those books don't sell. And I said, well, all right, good. And then 2 years later, when my book actually was published, and publishing is incredibly slow, that is sort of the regular turnaround times, 2 full years from when they buy it to when it comes out, the marketplace had totally changed, and all of a sudden the push was really on what's called own voices books and having sort of an authentic voice telling your story. And so that was a very big hurdle for me to overcome, but in the end I'm really glad I did it. The irony being that this book, the only scene that actually happened to me was cut because it was too boring. So yeah, so that's my book, What I Lost.
Alexandra, here's your book.
Oh my gosh, look at, there he is.
Somehow it's all worked out.
Oh, the piece of paper.
Oh, there's a piece of paper.
Someone else's.
Line up on. I don't think it's a secret.
Okay.
Okay, I get it, okay, all right. That's it, just a little note from James Comey, that's fine. It's nothing. Anyway, okay, so that was, it was great, everybody's grounded, everybody knows what these guys have been up to.
So this might be a little off topic, but you're all very candid, so you'll tell me if it is. You also might all be too young to relate to this at all, but yeah. So I'm working on a book that's about a 16-year-old protagonist that it's set in the 70s for reasons that are probably all too obvious. It's the era when I know what it's like to be 16. I've been told that that's historical young adult fiction, which was kind of a horrifying thing to hear, but I've dealt with that. I've also been told it would be a really tough sell, both commercially and in terms of relatability for young adult readers, and I wonder what your thoughts might be about that.
Were you told that because it's set in the 70s? I mean, was that specifically
yeah,
the idea?
Meg Medina just published Burn Baby Burn, and that is set during the summer of Sam, which I think is the late 70s. And that won awards and stuff. People are always going to tell you that X won't sell. So, I mean, it is something to consider for sure. I am practical in my career. I'm not just like my muse and I'm going to force everyone to read it. I actually do think about, okay, this is a good time for this story. But I think you're gonna live with your book for a long time. So if you feel strongly about it and you think this
Already
is,
have.
you know, and if you really feel strongly about it and you think the setting is what makes it important or it's necessary, then
don't listen to, you don't have to listen to voices till you're published, to be honest. Because before then, you get to be blissfully ignorant and living in your own, like, I'm the best writer and everyone's going to love this book. That's kind of what keeps you going, for me anyways, the delusion.
I never get that thing that when you hear stuff like that, oh, the 70s, you can't set a book in the 70s, that won't sell. What? Why would one decade be verboten and another decade be okay? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think, you write the story you want to write and make it the best story you can, and then you've got just as good a chance as anybody else. I used to be an editor, and when I cringe now when I think of some of the things I said just to fill up space. I didn't know what I was talking about. Editors don't know anything.
Yeah. Dude, the 70s are played out. You can't do the 70s. It's all about there's this window between 1951 and 55, 54, 53. Sorry, someone just wrote a book. Yeah, I just want to echo everyone else. It's like, you just write what's in your heart. I get so frustrated when I hear any advice that's like at all market oriented, and maybe in that respect, I actually am a kind of like a pie in the sky, like follow your muse, never do anything, but like, I don't know. You just like, you've been swimming in books that have been published your whole life, and that's already the language that you speak, and so to try to like learn the language of publishability as a second language is almost you're losing what you know about what makes a book and what makes it readable and wonderful and enjoyable and a window into another world. And it's just that, all this marketing speak is like, it's actively pernicious to me. I also want to address the previous question asker because I think I was way too discouraging about becoming a writer. It's the best job in the world, so definitely do it. I heard my words and I was like, Jesse, you're an idiot. Come on. You love doing this, and it's also the only thing you can do. So, so definitely do it. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I also.
Thanks.
Yeah, I also think that remember, when you're selling your book, you just have to find that one person who believes in it. And there's always going to be someone who says no. There's going to be agents that are like, nah, I don't think I could sell this. And then you're going to find the agent that's like, I love it. So I think keep trying to find that person, because you really do only need one agent and one publisher that believes in it. And then, they'll get it out. They'll find the people. There's going to be an audience for it. If you make the story as good as you can, and it's a great story with great characters, it doesn't really matter when it's set, I don't think.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Hello. I'm curious as to, when it comes to realistic fiction, you're writing a lot about real experiences and maybe real emotions, not necessarily that you've had, but maybe you relate to and things like that. And, Alexandra and Anne, you both have daughters. And, I'm curious as to how you react to how the people in your life react to what you put on the page, and maybe, assumptions that they might make or questions they may have. How do you respond to that?
Well, for my book, my kids have not read it. My 11-year-old really wants to. But right now, eating disorders are sort of this nebulous thing that mommy had once that, that doesn't, and I have no desire to educate them on those until it's necessary. But when my book came out, I did have to have a conversation with them, and it was very hard. Because my kids, I think I'm almost Aaron. My kids get more sugar, I think, because they're like, can I have a donut? I'm like, yes, you can. You can have donuts for the rest of your life. Love it, And my husband's always like, Alexandra, like, they've already had, like, so many things today. But, and, because I think I am overcompensating a little bit. But as a result, I think my kids really do have really good self-esteem. When my younger daughter she puts on her bathrobe every day when she comes home from school, and she sits on the couch. Her stomach's hanging out. She's like, look at my belly. Look at my belly. And I'm like, yes, let's look at it. It's beautiful. But it is hard. And for me, we were at a book fair, and my kids and I were working at it, and then another mom just kind of came up to me. He's like, did you have anorexia? Is that why you wrote your book? And my girls just both looked at me like with these big eyes, and having that conversation is hard. But at the same time, I'm also kind of I write all my books with a very specific reader in mind. My first one was sort of a love story to people who had eating disorders, but also people who had people in their lives who had eating disorders. And so I think when the time comes, I'll be really proud to show them my book. But I want to make sure that it's the right time. And it's tricky because my daughter really wants to read it. And there are parents who are of kids her age who have let their daughters read it. And different families have different decisions. So it's tricky, but it keeps you honest when you're writing too.
My daughter thinks she actually did write this book. So it's all about her, according to her, it's all about her, and she wrote most of it. So I think in other experiences when I've written difficult things that I think are completely transparently belonging to, people I know, I've taken their experiences, I've taken them, I've stuck them in a book. They never notice. They never, ever, ever notice. So free yourself.
When you are Korean American and all your characters are Korean American, people think you're writing by yourself all the time. It's really annoying. But my first book was very autobiographical, I admit. It came from like a literal write what you know. But and then people in your life and I do kind of put in a lot of Easter egg names. I put people's names in there, but not like characters that look like them anyways, but people are always going to think that they're in your book. Like especially when you debut, it's going to be like, oh, was this supposed to be blank from especially if high school friends? And I'm like, no, this is not. It's not you. Don't worry. I actually had like a childhood bully reach out to me on Facebook before my book came out, and I know she was like scared that she was going to be in it. I'm like, excuse me, don't flatter yourself. You're like not in my book. In fact, please don't message me ever again. And also my covers, they're like, is this you? Like every one of my covers. I'm like, no. I mean, thank you. I look 16, but no. So yeah, people do make assumptions, actually. They put all this, like, they think that I don't know, maybe it's because we write YA. They think we are inserting ourselves into our books somehow. And I always have to say, no, this is fictional.
Yeah, there's always a kind of reckoning. If you're doing your job, I think you're kind of actively trying not to anticipate reactions to your book from people, because that can only kind of pollute the thing. So you just put that out of your head, and then the book comes out, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to hear from all these people. And they do divide into two camps usually, and the one camp will point to usually the main character going like, is this you? And then the other camp will point to some other character, go like, is this me? And the second camp just sucks. Just cut those people out of your life. They're just not good to have them. And yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, well, I want to thank you all for coming. This is great. And the authors will be signing their books at the table after the session outside there in the atrium. And have a great festival. Happy reading.
Oh, we have one.
What? One more question?
There's one more question.
Okay. It just, okay. Sorry. Okay.
When did you know that you were going to be a writer?
Oh.
It's so cute.
That's a good question to end on.
Just from the start. Again, my mom was a librarian, and there were books in my room everywhere, and usually no people, just books. And so I read all the time. I don't know. It never occurred to me not to do it. It was just always, it was always what I was doing in my time that I had to myself, which was abundant. And, I always wanted to do it.
I was 35. I think I'm a late bloomer.
I was always writing too as a kid, but I never thought what I was doing was being a writer. And then when I turned 30, when I sold my first book and a publisher said, we're going to publish your book, I was like, oh, I guess I'm a writer? And I had to hear it from that level. Because no one in my life told me I could be an author when I grew up.
Yeah, I always knew I liked to write, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, maybe I'll write a book someday. But for me, I was teaching 8th grade, and I was leaving that job, and I asked I'm like, you guys, what am I going to do with my life? Like these 8th graders, and they all kind of looked at me like I'm an idiot, and they're like, well, you're going to write a book, obviously. And that was actually the first time I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll actually try and write a real book. Like I always thought I'd write, but I never thought I'd actually do anything with it. And so that was a big change. But I agree, I think calling yourself a writer before you get published is key. Because I think it's very hard to justify. You really, people are like, what are you doing? You're like, well, I'm working on this thing.
I want to be a writer.
Yeah, I want to be a writer. Or, I'm just, I don't know, I'm writing something that's probably going to go nowhere. And, so I think just having the courage to be like, I am a writer makes all the difference.
All right.
So.
Yay. Thank you.